Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. Pursuant to Article 2, Section 8 of the Tennessee Constitution, and receipt of the written request of 2/3 of the members of the House, I hereby declare the House Representative of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in extraordinary session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Alexander will serve as chaplain of the day. Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. That's Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. Like many of you, I too have wrestled with this special session, knowing how divided our country and our state are concerning vaccine mandates. You only have to open your emails to know that. So I started praying about a week ago about what I would like to speak with you on today, just to hope that I could give you some peace and myself gain some. And I finally rested on a story in the Old Testament. It is the story of Moses, a story you all know well, about the Israelites and their escape out of Egypt. You remember they were camped at the Red Sea, tasting freedom for the first time. And they looked over their shoulder and saw the hordes of Pharaoh coming at them, over 600 chariots and soldiers on foot. And they were terrified. And Moses said to them these words, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. You will never see the Egyptians you see today again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." In verse 15, the Lord goes on to say to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell those Israelites to move on. Raise your staff, stretch it out over stretch your hand out over the sea and divide the water so the Israelites can go through the sea on dry land." That night, that actually occurred. And here's the words that Robin Morgan penned in his book called The Red Sea Rules. "The Israelites, stock still and silent, watched in unbearable suspense as the old man raised his rod over the obstructing sea. An eastern wind suddenly gusted from heaven, tugging at the beards and the cloaks of the multitude, who were mostly skeptics. They watched slack-jawed as the downdraft intensified, hit the water, and slowly plowed through the sea. The waves rose in foam and fury, forming translucent walls that became an avenue for them, and later an ambush for their enemies, a gateway to one, a graveyard to another. It was the Old Testament's most dramatic objective lesson, one of God's greatest miracles. It's a simple lesson. Trust God to deliver in his own unique way. That's his specialty. "Call upon me," he says, "in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you will glorify me." Psalms 50:15. I go back to my beginning words. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make our paths straight. Let's pray. O Lord and Father, King of kings and Lord of lords, we come before you today, humbled that you have put us in this position for such a time as this. May we never waver from you. May we look to you for our wisdom, for our clarity, for our discernment. Guide us, Lord, for we are nothing without you. In thy precious and holy name, amen.
Representative Alexander will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 94 members present.
Let the journal reflect. Representatives Cooper, Crawford, Sexton of Granger, Grills are excused. Lear Lambert, you're recognized. Lear Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with the reading of the petition.
Without objection, so ordered. Speaker Pro Tem Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the permanent rules of order of the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly be adopted as the permanent rules of order for the third extraordinary session with the following adjustments. Rule number 17, so that all congratulatory and memorializing resolutions can be placed directly on the next consent calendar. Rule 49, the 48-hour rule, so that all bills moved from calendar rules can be set on the next floor calendar. Rule 49, the 25 bill limit rule, so that more than 25 bills may be placed on the calendar for final consideration on any one day. Rule 50, the 72-hour rule for posting the consent calendar, so that local bills and other bills and resolutions coming out of calendar rules can be placed on the next consent calendar on a daily basis. Rule 59, notice provisions, so that all bills from the Senate with messages can be announced and or automatically placed on the next message calendar. Rule number 60, so that the notice of proposed amendments may be given 2 hours prior to the start of session on the day of consideration. Rule 65, to set the standing committees of the second extraordinary session and to allow the Speaker to appoint the Calendar and Rules Committee. Rule number 67, so that committee and subcommittee meetings can be held at times other than those specified in the House weekly schedule and with less than 72-hour notice. Rule 71, the 24-hour rule that requires all amendments to be available to members 24 hours before consideration on the floor. Rule number 83-1, so that all bills reported out of subcommittee can be heard on the next full committee calendar without waiting a week. Rule 83-1, so that all bills reported out of committee can be heard on the next committee, in the next committee on subcommittee without waiting a week. Rule number 83-1, so that items in committee and subcommittee can be placed on the next calendar, notwithstanding the Wednesday 3:30 deadline for placing bills on notice. Mr. Speaker, one correction on rule number 65, which I stated to set the standing committee of the second extraordinary session want to change that to the third extraordinary session. Make that change. Thank you.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any objection? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I understand this motion. In the past, we've done two separate motions. We've motioned to adopt the rules, and then secondly, we will adopt the flow motion, if you will. And I just want to get on the record that in this case, we're doing both of them in the same motion, and it's no different rules that are being amended with this particular motion. No more exceptions.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, these are the same rules that were adopted under regular session as the permanent rules of order for the 112th General Assembly with the flow motion built in.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Also, Mr. Speaker, is there any rules that we are looking at with respect to bill filing deadlines for this particular this particular special session? Was yesterday the bill filing deadline, or is there any ruling around that?
Mr. Speaker, as in these proposed rules, the bill filing deadline is still the 10th legislative day, as it is in our normal rules if session were to go to 10 legislative days. The 4 p.m. yesterday was the deadline pursuant to our normal practice and rules to get your bill in to be eligible to be passed on first consideration for tonight. So you still can file bills, but they just will not be passed on first until the following day.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Any objection? Without objection, so ordered. You adopted. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that you appoint a committee to notify the governor that the House has perfected its organization and is ready to conduct business.
Proper motion, properly seconded. Those in favor say aye, aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion carries. I appoint the following members to notify the governor. Rudder, Helton, Ogles, Love. Representative Rudder will serve as chair of the committee. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that you appoint a committee to notify the Senate that the House has perfected its organization and is ready to conduct business.
Proper motion, probably seconded. Those in favor say aye, aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes carry. The motion carries. I appoint the following members to notify the Senate. Zachary, Boyd, Lynn, Chisholm. Representative Zachary will serve as chair of the committee. Would these committees please retire? The House will stand in a brief recess pending the return of the report of these committees. I can't see that far. I think it's former House members here. Senator, you are recognized at Deputy Speaker Johnson's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've sent to tell you that the Senate has perfected our organization and ready to do business. Thank you
very much. Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I declare the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly now in extraordinary session. Leader Gant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with the calling of the roll.
Without objection, so ordered. Representative Rudder, the chair of the committee to inform the governor, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, we have informed the governor that we are ready to do the business of this special session.
Thank you, Representative Rudder. Representative Zachary, the chairman of the committee to inform the Senate, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have informed the Senate that we have perfected our organization. They were thoroughly impressed, and we are ready to conduct business.
You've been taking lessons from Chairman Vaughn, apparently. Thank you, Chairman. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming and honoring.
Welcome and honoring. Anyone seeking recognition? Chairman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, please join me in welcoming a couple of my constituents from Bradley County, Mr. and Mrs. Vernon Lee, to my right in the gallery. Please give them a hand.
Representative Dixie, you're recognized.
I'd like to recognize two people real quick. First, I have my friend that's up there in the balcony, Mr. Keith Norman. Thank you for coming. And also, today is the birthday of one of our colleagues. His name is, well, is he here? Oh, Samuel McKenzie. Today's his birthday. He's 68 years old today.
Representative Manis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to make a very special announcement for a constituent of mine. She is recently new to my district, and Representative Reagan and Calfee already know and love this woman. I'm blessed to say that I got to meet her this week. She turned 101 years old last month, and she's had a whopping 11 decades. And despite her age, she's not slowed down. She's still a checker champion, and she's a great cook. And I wanted to let Representative Reagan and Calfee know that I have some of Aunt Clara's favorite kraut salad for the two of you. So I have a special delivery. Thank you.
Representative Shaw. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, today, House members, we have some very special guests with us in the balcony. We have statewide African American clergy initiative with us, and I'd like for you and the House to help make them welcome who are sitting in the balcony today.
Representative Parkinson. At Chairman Dixie's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had to get this on the record, so if I'm out of order, I apologize. But today is easy now, easy back there in the cheap section. Today is my first daughter's 30th birthday, so I want to wish a happy birthday to Tia Parkinson. Happy birthday, and it's on the record. And for the record, also, Reverend Norman and most of those guys are from Memphis, and so we didn't want Chairman Dixie welcoming them. We welcome you. And lastly, I want to welcome Will Richardson and Theron Bond. If you would stand up, if y'all make them feel welcome, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Leader Lamberth.
While we're recognizing important milestones, we have another member that has a birthday today. Chairman Brian Terry has a birthday today. Y'all wish him happy birthday.
Representative Moody, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I would like to introduce to you, they were my friends first, Chris, Charlotte, and Kathy. Will y'all stand and wave? They are my constituents also, but they've traveled all the way from Tipton County to be with us. Thank you for coming.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to recognize my mother. She turned 80 years old yesterday, and so I wanted to say happy birthday to my mother, Mary Powell. Thank you. Certainly wouldn't be the man I am standing here today without her. She taught me courage, compassion, and hard work. So happy birthday, Mom. Thank you.
Representative Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Parkinson already beat me to it, but I do want to recognize someone who is very special to me, one of my friends, my constituents, and my campaign manager. She's also a cancer survivor and has just been taken off of her release, so I do want to give her a shout out to Theron Bunn.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prior to coming here today, I had the unfortunate in one way, but really fortunate in terms of being absent from the body, being present with the Lord. Attending a funeral of a good friend of mine, great Tennessean in general, outstanding Knoxvillian. Michael Fox was just a great individual, a huge talent, and it's going to be a huge loss to my district and the entire city of Knoxville. So if I might just ask everyone for have a moment of silence for my brother, Michael Fox. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome all the healthcare professionals from the Tennessee Healthcare Campaign and other doctors who traveled from across the state to join us this evening. So thank you very much for being here.
Representative Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want everybody to take a moment of silence. We had a tragedy over the weekend at our courthouse. We lost our General Sessions Court clerk, Connie Holt, and just a pointless crime ended up taking her life and that of her significant other. So I just want everybody to take some time and remember Connie, her family, her son Andrew. They're going through just a rough time right now. We had a candlelight vigil last night, and the courthouse is just all tore up. Connie was a sweet lady. I couldn't say the appropriate words of kindness for her, other than just the fact that she'll be greatly missed by our community. And she truly made this world a better place, and she just was there to help people get through hard times. So if everybody could just take a moment of silence for Connie Holt. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else seeking recognition? Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come to recognize, last night we lost my brother-in-law, Joe Zanoni. Great guy, and I hope that everybody will remember him and my sister-in-law, Karen Evans. So if we could rise and for a moment of silence, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Sparks.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to pay a tribute to a man passed away last week. Some may call him the least of these. He was special needs. About 20 years ago, he come to me for a job. I didn't need anybody. He was special needs. And the man told me, he says, I'll do anything for a job. I'll do anything for a job. And we've all had those moments where you feel like the Lord sends you somebody that you're supposed to intervene and try to help. So he worked for me for a while. Started getting cold, and he was doing some work outside, and called Mayor Bill Ketron. He wasn't an elected official at the time. He owned a market just right up the road from me, and Donnie could walk to his market. So called Mayor Ketron. I said, hey, would you interview this guy? He worked for Mayor Ketron for a while. But here's what's significant about this gentleman. Most, like the Good Samaritan, stopped at help. Most would just pass this guy on by. He was special needs. No gifts, no talents. But let me tell you what this guy would do that was awesome. He could bowl a perfect game, but he'd have a hard time riding a bicycle, just to be honest with you. His brother, Brad Downing, watched him bowl 17 perfect strikes. 17 perfect strikes. So here's what I want to say. We got a hard time with workforce development right now. And you see a lot of these special needs folks that have heart, they want to work, they got conviction. So hats off to Mayor Ketron for giving him a job, and hats off to Donnie Charles. May you rest in peace in heaven. Thank you.
Representative Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sometimes we celebrate things in advance. We were here last week, and I couldn't mention this because you never know when things might come to pass. What I'm standing before you today to say is that thank you, Pat, for accepting me as your spouse October 23rd, 1965. Thanks, Pat.
Representative Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to rise to recognize 3 members of the Tennessee Black Caucus of State Legislators. Representative Barbara Cooper was given the Lifetime Achievement Award, Representative Dixie for Legislator of the Year, and Representative McKenzie for New Legislator of the Year. So let's give them a hand real quick.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, I would like for members to rise for a moment of silence for one of my nephews who passed this past week from COVID. He's 30, young wife, 5 little kids, and it's just been a tough time. So I would like everybody to just take a moment of silence for his life, his family, as they move forward and as we move forward during this difficult time. Thank you.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to take a moment to remember a dear close friend of mine, Kevin Cordell, who many people on our side of the aisle know, passed away last week. Wife, 3 kids. He's 42 years old. Drastically changed the lives of his family. Of course, he died of COVID, and I'd like to take a moment of silence for Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, Mr. Speaker, would like to ask the members, after I share this with you, I was listening to my colleague talking about special needs and the fact that the book I read tells me that all of us are in special need. That's the reason the Savior was sent. And there's no least of these unless we all are the least of these in God's sight. Okay? But by the same token, I want the members to rise for a member of our community that we lost last week to COVID as well. He was a beautiful man, school teacher, real estate agent, public servant. Kids loved him. He was a man's man, a Renaissance man, did a lot of everything. He met his untimely demise, had all of his shots, and still lost his life. None other than our beloved Steve Webster from Memphis, Tennessee. A moment of silent prayer, if you don't mind, please. Amen.
Thank you. Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lot of remembrances that we've had on the floor this evening, and I understand that, and I want to leave us on a happy note. We had the first frost of the season in Northeast Tennessee this morning as I was driving. The old saying, we had frost on the pumpkins as we were leaving home this morning. And as I look out my back porch and I look at God's beauty, all the leaves that are changing colors, and then I get in my car and I start driving across the districts through John Mark's district, and I start driving through Speaker Sexton's district, and I see the beautiful colors that we have across our state of Tennessee. And then I think back to all the people that are wanting to come here and coming here for all the right reasons, and the Lord's painting that he gives us every year around this time. So I want to welcome everyone in this room. I want to welcome everyone within the sound of my voice to come start your trek across Tennessee, up in Northeast Tennessee, as the colors are turning right now, and go all the way across the state of Tennessee to Memphis and watch those colors of the leaves change over the next 3 weeks. It'll be well worth your while. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. All right. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule number 17 and placed on the consent calendar, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all Senate joint resolution congratulatory and memorializing line of the desk be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of bills.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bills 1 through 80 be introduced and passed on first consideration.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on first consideration, Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second consideration, petitions and memorials, reports from standing committees, reports from select committees, calendars, unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Any unfinished business? See none. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Announcements.
Announcements. Very good. Next order, Mr. Clerk. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Oh, well. If you all want to know the committees, I mean, I think that's... All right, here we go. Here's the committees for the 112th, third extraordinary session. Banking Committee. Alexander, Bricken, Halford, Hardaway, Harris, Hicks of Washington, Jernigan, Manis, Vice Chair Boyd, Chair Powers. COVID-19 Committee, Carr, Carringer, Cooper, Darby, Eldridge, Faison, Hall, Hodges, Howell, Holsley, Johnson Montgomery, Lamberth, Potts, Rudder, Sherrill, Thompson, Todd, Warner, Zachary, Vice Chair Grills, Chair Farmer. Elections, Campbell, Cassida, Sapicki, Dixie, Doggett, Lafferty, Mitchell, Ramsey, Vice Chair Wright, Chair Moon. Emergency orders, Calfee, Chisholm, Clemens, Kumar, Lynn, Moody, Ogles, Parkinson, Rudd, Stewart, Vice Chair Leatherwood, Chair Littleton. Finance, Ways and Means, Baum, Campbell, Camper, Chisholm, Cochran, Crawford, Gant, Faison, Helton, Howe, Lamar, Lamberth, Miller, Moody, Russell, Shaw, Vidal, Williams, Wendell, Zachary, Vice Chair Hicks of Hawkins, Chair Hazelwood. Public Health, Byrd, Gant, Gillespie, Haston, Holtzclaw, Kiesling, Love, Marsh, McKenzie, Powell, Smith, Sparks, Towns, Vaughn, White, Whitson, Williams, Vice Chair Hawk, Chair Terry. Judiciary, Beck, Garrett, Griffey, Hakeem, Hurt, Johnson of Knox, Lamar, Reagan, Reedy, Travis, Weaver, Vice Chair Russell, Chair Curcio. Calendar and Rules, Camper, Curcio, Faison, Farmer, Freeman, Gant, Grills, Hazelwood, Howe, Lamberth, Littleton, Love, Moon, Powers, Shaw, Terry, Todd, White, Wendell, Vice Chair Darby, Chair Zachary. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 94 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
That completes the regular order, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Gant, you're recognized. Leader Gant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until 9 a.m. on Thursday, October 28th, 2021.
Without objection, the House stands in recess till 9 a.m. on Thursday, October 28, 2021.